What's good, YouTube? Mase X back with another video. We got RossMonsta in the building, and we got the great return of Big Will. What's going on, y'all?
Hello, everybody. No, I don't have anything witty or slick to say this week. I'm back down on my mouthpiece. We're gonna get to work, man. I'm ready to talk some ball, ready to talk some sports. I'm ready to get it going as always.
What's good? What's good, Will?
Oh, nothing much, man. Happy to be back.
People been asking about you.
Oh, that's great. But I'm happy to be back with you guys, man. I'm ready.
Absolutely. Well, we'll go ahead and get started, man. Not gonna waste any time. Just to start things off, we're gonna look at Tyson versus Paul. All right, so Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. You know, according to Netflix, the most streamed sporting event of all time. One-of-a-kind spectacle. They revealed over 108 million viewers globally. Co-main event also Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. But definitely the topic of discussion was the fight and if it was scripted or not. Paul defeated Tyson by unanimous decision. Just to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on the Tyson-Paul fight?
All right, I can start us off. So I was telling you back in the summer, bro, this was not something that Mike Tyson needed to do. I think with the Jake Paul stuff, this is like the peak now because what else names can he what else big names can he get? And I just knew it was going to happen, bro. I knew Jake Paul was going to win, and I just knew it wasn't going to live up to the hype. I think it's just a money grab for Tyson, and I think it was just some clout for Jake Paul. But I think it's honestly like not worked out well for Jake Paul because he's getting a lot of criticism. It's going to be interesting to see who he decides to fight after this. He needs to fight a real boxer. I'm not saying Mike Tyson's not, but he's a little too old at this point.
I think it's different. I think with Jake Paul, somebody like him could care less about his legacy. I think he can care less about all that stuff. I think at this point he understands what it is. He tried that before when he boxed somebody around his age, a legit boxer. He lost. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, I'm not doing that again. So, yeah, I was talking about it earlier. He's going to keep going after those late 30s, early 40s MMA-based strikers. And, you know, I'll never disrespect the legend Mike Tyson by calling him washed up, but he is 58. And like he said in his post-fight interview, he didn't really care about the opinion of the outsiders. This is something that he wanted to see that he could do for himself. He stood toe-to-toe with a guy who is half his age. I was just hoping that Mike Tyson didn't fall flat on his face. He stood toe-to-toe. 8 2-minute rounds, lost a unanimous decision. I was proud of Mike. I personally don't want to see it again, but yeah, $20 million, man. You offer that to me to box anybody. I don't care who it is. But I'll tell you what, though, I think this whole Canelo thing, it might end up getting some legs. And that might be his big payday, and that might be his final one if he goes in there with Canelo.
Yeah, but
I would recommend that. But
that's what I'm saying.
Before you go, Will, just to follow and piggyback on that, I do think I forgot which one of y'all said that Paul doesn't care about his legacy. I didn't know that. So he needs to fight a legit boxer at this particular point in time. My biggest thing was, do y'all feel was it scripted or you feel a legitimate fight?
I think Paul's goal was not to knock Tyson out because he could have. I think he really could have, just because he's a 58-year-old man against someone who's 26 or 27, bro. Like, I think he could have, but for viewing purposes, he had to keep him up, bro. He had to. Just like remember the Mayweather Logan Paul fight? Mm-hmm. They were saying Mayweather could have knocked him out, but for viewing purposes, he had to keep him up and had to go the full whatever rounds they went, 12, 15 rounds.
Yeah, I agree because I don't think it was scripted. You see on social media, they showed a little spots where, Tyson could have got him here, and then they'll show a clip from 1987 to where he did the same thing and countered with a jab to the face. It's like, that was 1987. Your body his body couldn't cash what his mind really wanted to do. But I think Paul even admitted after the fight his goal was not to knock him out.
Yeah, he did
put on a show for the viewers, and that was the decision. I honestly agree with that. So.
But I wanted to add one more thing. 2 things. One, you remember Mike Tyson said after as well, he said he dang near died in the summer. That's why they had to postpone it.
Right.
Because remember, I think it was going to be earlier. It was supposed to be in the summertime. They had to postpone it to
July. Yep, mid-July.
The second thing is that I feel, because Trey, you did say he fought a real boxer. It was Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's younger brother or half brother, whatever. But my thing is this with Jake Paul, especially in the social media age. I feel like the gimmick is going to get stale at one point. It's like at one point, people are going to be like, he can only finesse people for so long. Like if he does
years now.
You said what?
It's been about what?
Yeah, but I think that's
years.
what I was saying. I think Tyson is the biggest name he could have got. Like that's the peak boxer he could have got. You know what I'm saying? Like he had Anderson Silva, he had Nate Diaz, but now Tyson, the name Tyson, is bigger than all those names. Now Andrew Tate, that's one where he can kind of keep it going a little bit because Andrew Tate actually has a fighting background. But it's like if he fights like another ex-UFC fighter or older, because I saw Holyfield said he would do it.
Yeah,
and Andre Ward said he would do it. I feel like the gimmick's going to start getting stale, man, because he's finesse. Like he's going to have to put it on Netflix again because at least we all have Netflix. Nobody's buying no Jake Paul fight at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm streaming that before I ever buy it. And I won't even stream it. Yeah.
Moving on, man, we're going to take a look at Bronny James. Topic of discussion, of course, we all, the nepotism remarks with him. Should he be in this position? Does he deserve it? But yeah, he's been struggling in the G League. After struggling in his freshman year at USC, also struggled this past summer in the summer league as well as the preseason. A lot of people have had their doubts and voiced their opinions. With that said, he's played in 2 G League games at this moment. The stat line at this particular time of recording, he's averaging 5 points a game, 2.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 21% shooting, and has still not made a 3-pointer at this particular point in time. So he's averaging about 28 minutes a game.
I mean, it's still early with Bronny, you know what I'm saying? Clearly nepotism is why he is where he is, because any other player would have stayed in college and continued to develop their draft status. But when you're the son of one of the greatest of all time, you really don't have to do that. But let's talk about Bronny for a second. With Bronny, when you're a 55th overall pick in the draft, that's what you're going to be viewed as. And the Lakers didn't pay him like he was a 55th overall. They paid him $7.9 million. You know what that means? It means the Lakers got to open up a spot for one of those other rosters just so they can pay that guy. And his 6 games of the Lakers, he's averaged 4 points and less than 3 minutes on the floor. So you move him to G League, let him develop. Now, I have 3 potential theories as to why he's only playing home games. Security reasons. They don't fly private. They fly with the likes of one of us. You know what I'm saying? You're going to see Bronny James at the airport. You're going to go over there and start heckling him. You'll ask for pictures. Hey, man, I remember when you was this big. And you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody trying to deal with all that. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it's a bad idea. We might go to Noblesville, Fort Wayne, wherever the Mad Ants are playing their G League games and pack the house. It's good, but then, you know what I'm saying? Everybody be heckling him, trolling him. Yeah, Brian did it, Brian. He's too young, but I might do something with his mental. The second theory I have is his health. People forget that he just had cardiac arrest a year ago. You know what I'm saying? Minimize his minutes, minimize his time. You know what I'm saying? I think that might be something that they're looking at. Now, for my third and final theory, you guys know LeBron's making a documentary similar to The Last Dance. LeBron's making a documentary
a few years ago. Yeah, I can
with
believe
the same
that.
crew who made Last Dance. He's trying to do the same deal, the end of career documentary. I think he wants Bronny to be a part of that journey. How's Bronny gonna be a part of that journey if he's on the road? You know what I'm saying, doing all that. So maybe that might be a reason he's keeping Bronny in LA. I'm saying you can develop with your teammates at home. When they go on the road, you can develop with me and the Lakers. This is a unique thing, and I actually think it could potentially work out for Bronny. I think LeBron's going to do what LeVar Ball set out to do, have all 3 of his sons' jerseys on the Raptors, except for LeBron's jersey is going to be up there. He's going to be the 3rd guy with him and Bryce James here in a few years.
I kind of look at this a little different, man. And this kind of goes back to me and Mason, what we've been talking about the last few weeks or a few days. I think this is a micro problem to the NBA's macro problem. And I think, once again, it's a quality issue because the fact that we're talking, like, we all know, and I think as an average person, a normal person who goes to work every day and does my best and whatnot, I think just watching this, it's irritating. When we talk about the nepotism and all that and the privilege, I think that, to me, reflects bad on the NBA. And I think this is just another problem that they have, the fact that we know a guy's son is in the league. He shouldn't be in the league. And we've known this. And now he's demoted to the G League. And he's averaging, like I saw the last game he had 4 points, bro. Okay, we know at this point you cannot play in the NBA. And it's like, I'm not here to pile on Bronny because that's somebody's son. And we all know this. It's nothing new. But I think it just reflects bad on the NBA because it just says like one of the greatest players ever got his son into the league. Now, imagine the entitlement we know the entitlement that LeBron has, but imagine the entitlement or what that kind of says to the players now, what entitlement they're going to have in the future. And if they do away, think about this. They've been talking about this for a few years, doing away again with like 1 year in the league where they can, you know what I'm saying? They got to go to college 1 year. You know what I'm talking about? They want to go back. They want to go back to, you know, going from high school to the league. Now imagine someone that maybe plays in the league a little bit, like a Damian Lillard, just as an example. Imagine if his son's not all that good, but now he has an opportunity to go from high school to the league, and he gets that opportunity just because his dad was Damian Lillard. Like, I just think this is turning into can turn into a very bad thing for the NBA. And I think it's just another problem that they have now and they're gonna have in the future, because I don't think LeBron's gonna be the only one to do this. I really don't. And that was the problem I felt like when he first did it. I think that's gonna tell other players, hey, I gotta get my son in. This is my son. Like Carmelo, for instance. We don't really know how good these players are because we see nothing but highlights and like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I just feel like Carmelo could do this. Dwayne Wade could do it. I mean, you know, because they have not as big a names as LeBron, but they're top players. They're top all-time players. So, like I said, I think this is a micro problem to the macro problems that the NBA has. I don't think this is good, man. And I think it's showing. He's demoted to the G League, still struggling. And it's like, how long does it keep going on at this point? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think based on real quick, man, I think with every Bronny, because we can't forget Bronny was a talent coming out of high school. The cardiac arrest,
bro. That's high school though. That's high school.
What? And we don't know how good he could have been in college. He might have had the health issues.
He wasn't. I don't think.
Yeah, he was the 13th ranked player in his class of 2023 coming out of high school. I know high school talent doesn't reflect on NBA, but I think you guys are making it seem like he's like one of Jordan's kids. You got to look at where every Bronny, there's a Scottie Pippen legacy. You look at his son's journey. He wasn't over here pulling punches. This is like a LeBron isolated thing. You know, look at Carlos Boozer. He's got two boys getting ready to go into the league here in a couple of years. So
I think that's not a good comparison though, because these Boozer boys, they're top 10, especially the older one. They're out there balling.
Yeah, they are balling. They are balling.
But you talk about Bronny and
Pippen's son's earned it though. He's really earned it.
Those guys are playing. You even talk about Jordan's son, which one was a pretty good producer.
Where?
Who? The one that went to Central Florida. I think Marcus Jordan.
Did he go to Illinois?
I think he went to Illinois though.
Yeah, right? Illinois. But I think he transferred to Central Florida after Illinois.
What I'm saying is, if Michael Jordan wanted to, do you think he could have bullied his sons in the league?
But I don't think he wanted to do that though. I don't think he wanted to do that.
He didn't want to do that, man.
I think he respected the game too much to just say, son, my name, you got my name, you're going to the league. Like, I think he respected the game and he respected hard work. Like, I'm not saying Brian hasn't put in work, but talent-wise, he's just not there, bro. He's demoted to the G League and still struggling at this point.
I wouldn't even call it a demotion. I think he was going to the G League regardless. I think they just wanted to have that moment with him and LeBron.
That makes my point even more.
They got on the court.
That was part of the plan.
But that makes my point even more.
So you got to play with your dad for a little bit. Now, go ahead and develop.
Think about what you just said. That means we already know that that makes my point even more. So he really shouldn't have been in the league then. That was the plan all along. What is that saying, bro? Like, what is that really saying, man? That's not good, bro. I'm telling you, NBA, I've been telling this to Mason, NBA is going to go back to the 70s, like how people were turning off NBA and not watching. It was unentertaining. They're going to go back. I think they're going to go back to that, bro. Sooner than later, they're going back to that. And this shows it right here. Like, when have we ever seen this? Like, we've never seen a player have, like LeBron, like I said, strong arm a team to really get your son drafted. Like, people were talking like, there's no way he can do that. Then he does it, and then he plays with them. Then he goes down to the G League. Like, that's the plan, bro. Everything should be earned. Not. I have a plan where you're gonna do this for a little bit and then go down here. Like, bro, this stuff needs to be earned, bro. That is like, look at Archie. Okay, look at Archie Manning. He's actually out there earning his stuff. Like, it's not just Peyton Manning just pulling strings. Like, bro, I'm gonna get you here, get you there. No, he's got to earn it, bro. Like,
that's not his kid to be pulling strings for him.
I mean, he's related to him. He's related to him nonetheless. You know what I mean? He has the last name. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he has that last name.
Last name.
And it's Arch Manning.
Archie's
Manning,
my grandfather. Bad. You're right. My bad. But you get what I'm saying. And
You
even
in
Archie
Texas, you
Manning,
should know this.
he didn't do that for Peyton or Eli. Like at the end of the day, they went to the league, they earned it, went to the league, won championships. You know what I'm
It was
saying?
a different
Like, bro,
time back then. Well, come on now.
huh?
These guys were in beast mode. I really think Bronny would have been a different story for Bronny had it not been for the medical issue, but we'll never know.
Nah, man.
I guess we'll just have to sit back and see how things play itself out.
Bro, come
There's
on.
no
Even his
rush
high
for
school, look, his high school stats: 14 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists.
That's not killing it type of
Sierra
bro.
Canyon. So he wasn't, and I mean, Sierra Canyon is usually a nationally ranked team. So I mean, stats are going to be, when you have other 4 and 5 star players. But he didn't dominate. He was a McDonald's All-American because of his father's name on one of the worst teams in the Pac-12. Averaging 4 points a game, less than 30% from the floor. What player is going to be drafted? After a one and done with that type of stat line.
Exactly. And you don't think other players are watching, you don't think Jason Tatum's watching that and thinking, I can get Deuce in the league. LeBron did it. Like, Jason Tatum's won a championship now. He's gonna probably end up being one of the all-time greats. I don't think this is good, bro. Like I said, this is not good for the league, man. Like, having that type of power, that's not good, bro. Like,
yeah, and even it seemed like other teams were scared to draft Bronny before that.
They told him.
They
He
told him
basically
not to.
told him. The manager going out like, bro.
They said don't draft him.
Not even Jordan would have did that. Like, that's what I'm saying. No, Kobe, nobody. They would say you got to earn that, bro. And like, when you're literally telling teams don't draft and they don't do it, then that's not good, bro. I'm telling you, NBA is going to set itself back to like the 70s. They're going to have to rebuild and figure it out from there.
I definitely would love to stay on that, but we got to move forward, man. So I appreciate y'all's take on that. But college football, about 2.5 hours from the time of this recording, the NCAA recently released the college football playoffs, the third CFP rankings. A quick recap, they have the top 25 here. We'll just look at the top 14 or so, with Oregon staying number 1. They have a projected first round bye. Texas at number 3, Miami at number 8, and also Boise State at number 12. Other notable teams, we got an undefeated Indiana squad that I'm representing, and we're definitely having the time of our lives up here in Indiana. Georgia at number 10. But yeah, man, number 14 is definitely another caveat with BYU. They would earn, even though they're ranked number 14 now, if the playoffs started today, they would have the 12th seed, as they are the 5th highest ranked conference champion. Do you have any thoughts on the recently released college football rankings right now?
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm looking at the rankings right now, man. And listen, these last 2 regular season weeks are going to be humongous. I think we've talked about this, man. I think Indiana, this is like going to be a huge game for them. They're going to Columbus to take on number 2 ranked Ohio State. Ohio State, in my opinion, has had the tougher schedule between the two. Indiana's made some noise. They've been doing really well, but I think the college football committee is going to be watching that one with their popcorn and their sunglasses. I think they're gonna look for a reason to screw Indiana out of a playoff spot. I think if they get obliterated by Ohio State, which some pundits think that's gonna end up happening, I personally think Indiana's gonna hang in there. They're gonna want to sneak in another SEC team. Now, let me ask you something in regards to the SEC. There's been reports and conversation going around that there's some teams in the SEC that would prefer to miss the SEC championship game. And here's why. This is the 12-team playoff, and the SEC championship game could be nothing more than a bye week for the SEC squads such as Ole Miss, Georgia, maybe Tennessee, where they don't have to play that game. High risk, but potentially high reward scenario. You win, you're going to be a top 4 squad, so you're going to get that bye. But if you lose, you might mess around and get booted from the playoff talk altogether. Now, on one side of it's like, hey, you guys are in the SEC. This is like the mecca of college football. If you're the best, go out there and show us. Go be the best. Go play the game. Go win the SEC championship game. And the summer, like, hey, y'all ain't been playing as brutal of a schedule as we have down here in the South, SEC ball. My players are hurt. They're tired. Hey, y'all can have the SEC championship. I want to see us make it in there as a 5th, 6th, 7th seed and let the Texas and the Alabamas go up against each other. Beat the crap out of each other, send Alabama home on a 3rd loss. Keep in mind, you got Texas going to Texas A&M here soon, so they lose that game, then it's gonna be wide open. I think the college football committee is going to have some real sitting down and some talking to do, because they're gonna wonder, should we bump in Indiana for an additional SEC team, or should we put Indiana in there? That answer is going to come down to how Indiana plays against Ohio State.
So you think that because we got Ohio State, like you mentioned, Purdue thereafter, so you think with one loss, and Purdue's one of the worst, if not the worst, program in the Big Ten, odds are we're going to win that. So at 11-1, even if we get our behinds beat by Ohio State, you think we could drop completely out of the top 12 with just one loss to Ohio State, who's number 2 in the nation?
As wild as that sounds, I think it might be on the table because I think the committee cares more about the losses than they do the wins. If you can tell me a legitimate, notable win on IU's resume in terms of like where was this team ranked, where was the game played, then you could convince me that might not happen. But when I'm thinking about it right now, I'm thinking of Rutgers, Maryland, Michigan State, wounded Michigan with a championship hangover, Washington. None of those wins are all that impressive in the eyes of the college football committee. You know what I'm saying?
Even the style of win, because it's not like we're winning 24-20. We're beating the brakes. Nebraska 56-7. If they weren't ranked, they were a top 30 program at that time when we beat them 56-7. So it's not like, I get what you're saying with the wins and whatnot. Strength of schedule, I'll be the first to admit that, but we can't control what's on our schedule. And I know you're saying that it's nothing necessarily that you would do. It's a possibility of the committee, but I just hope that they keep in mind that we're winning convincingly against these inferior teams.
That's why this weekend I think this is going to be the weekend we're going to find out what team IU really is, because a lot of those wins were by double digits, with the exception of Michigan last week. That was a closer game than it should have been. Yeah. But if it comes down to that little SEC circus I was telling you about, if Texas were to drop one and everybody ends the season with 2 losses, that's them, Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, maybe even Texas A&M, they got 2 losses. They could run the table, win out, and then it might be one of those SEC teams. I do feel as though, and you Penn State too. I just, you know what I'm saying? I hate this. I grew up in Big Ten country. It feels like I live down here in SEC country. I got switched up, but I really feel as though the college football committee is leaning heavy on the SEC and not so much the Big Ten besides your top 2 heavyweights. Obviously, it's going to be a rematch between Ohio State and Oregon, but I'm hoping Indiana can let them know that they're for real. You know what I'm saying? They're 12.5-point underdogs in Columbus during a critical time of the year. Maybe Ohio State's got their minds focused on Michigan and might overlook Indiana. We'll see.
I feel you on that, but I just feel like there's no way with one loss, even if it's a convincing win by Ohio State, I just don't see how Indiana can fall out of the playoffs with an 11-1 record, losing to Ohio State, who's a top 2 team in Columbus. So, but yeah, I guess we'll see. Colorado, number 16 right now. They're one of the hottest teams.
I think Notre Dame should be booted from the top. They should be eliminated automatically. You don't lose at home to Northern Illinois. Don't care what the circumstances are. Just putting that out there. They bounce back. They haven't lost any more since, but of all the games you're going to drop on the schedule, y'all picked a bad one.
College football is definitely one of those that it's going to be fun to look at every week. We're getting closer to playoff time, so if you're a college football fan, man, this is definitely a fun time to be alive. But we're going to move on from college football, take a look at the NFL, a notable game for us. Anthony Richardson returns from his 2-game absence after being benched for the likes of Joe Flacco. So this past game, Anthony Richardson had a heck of a return, I'll admit. So his stat line, 20 for 30 from the field. So a very efficient game for him, 272 yards, a touchdown. He threw 2 rushing touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown. Second best QB rating with 106, and by far his best QBR of the season was 75.4. So definitely returned. A lot of Colts fans are happy. And Will, I'll go ahead and open this up to you. Do you feel like this is the turning point for Anthony Richardson in the Indianapolis Colts?
Personally, I feel like I don't know, but then I kind of lean to more no, because I'm going to be honest, it's against the Jets, bro. Not the best team defensively. I'd have to see a little more. I mean, I understand that they have to get him. They have to put him back in the starting lineup at one point because he is a first-round draft pick. But at the same time, I mean, I don't think it's bad. And I know they can't do this nowadays, But I don't think it's bad for, quarterbacks to sit back and kind of soak in game from a veteran quarterback. But I guess time will tell. I mean, I want to get too excited because it is the Jets. I lean towards no, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, for me, as far as I think individually for Anthony Richardson, I think it is going to be the turning point for him. He even admitted, and I'm paraphrasing, that the 2 weeks that he had off might have been the best thing for him. Probably was pretty humbling. I'm sure he's pretty embarrassed with the whole subbing himself out thing. And I think that gave him time to self-reflect, because 2 weeks ago, for all he knew, he was done for the season. But Flacco didn't necessarily play the best, so he got another chance. I think that it was good for him mentally, and he came out, and it was against a Jets team that offensively and defensively looks like they're crumbling and don't really have much of an identity, but just the efficiency throwing the ball, it's still a solid defense overall. Running the ball, the confidence, and what had me going, that I felt that, hey, this man, he's very raw, but he can still be a good quarterback in this league, is regardless of what's been going on prior to even the benching, anytime you go on the sideline, he might have finished a drive 0 for 4, 6-play drive 0 for 4, and overthrew, like you mentioned, Trey, 8-yard in by a mile, but he's still on the sideline, smiling on his face, encouraging, fist bumping, letting his team know, hey, we're still in this game. And I think mentally, a lot of quarterbacks would have been crushed getting benched. You hear about it all the time. Oh, you can't bench the young guy. His confidence. Anthony Richardson is a very confident quarterback. Regardless of how he's playing in the middle of the game, it could be an excellent game like the Jets, or it could have been a horrible game like the 10 for 33, I believe, that he had before he got benched. You really can't tell the difference just from his body language on the sideline.
Yeah, I think with Joe Flacco, I think the Colts felt like they had Cleveland's Joe Flacco from last year. And since even though they got swept by the Texans at that point, they felt like they could still make a run. And they just want to see if Joe could be the guy to really turn things around. And, 0-2 with Joe out there. And then granted, they were against two top defenses, the Vikings, and the other team escapes me. I was like, hey, you know what? We tried. It's not working with Joe. We spent the 4th overall pick on this guy. The talent's there. He's so green. He's so raw. I wish they would have benched him last year and just went with Gardner, but they just put him out there, which I didn't agree with that at all. And knowing what we know now, I definitely didn't agree with it now, because if he was this immature on the field in terms of the lack of development and all the other stuff, the easy missed throws, can you imagine how bad last year would have been? I think the injury also with the benching were some of the best things that could happen to him in regards for his future as an Indianapolis Colt.
Right. And it was like you mentioned, the Vikings and the Bills.
The Bills. Yeah.
That was a good game. Or not a good game, but that was a good team that we played as well. But, it wasn't the best showing. So just moving on now, kind of towards as we wrap up the end of the show, just kind of the final takes, topic or two that you wanted to talk about. So I'll definitely open up the floor to you.
SEC championship game. What do you think about the idea of SEC schools wanting to rather opt out of that game? Not opt out. Obviously, if you qualify and you're playing in a game, you're not going to back out. But what do you think about the idea of coaches preferring to miss the SEC championship game just so they can treat that as a bye week? Would you, if you were running one of these programs as a coach, would you rather go to the SEC championship game, prove that you're the best, try and win with the risk of maybe losing and going home? Or do you want to rest your guys up for that additional bye week, knowing that you'll probably end up playing a home playoff game?
Yeah, man. For me, if I'm a coach and just a competitor, we all play sports, we all play football, man. I'm always go for it. So if we're playing to compete, like I'm not thinking about, what if we lose? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go out and we're going to win an SEC crown. You even mentioned earlier that SEC championship title is considered kind of the cream de la cream of all conferences in the Power Four. And so, I'm definitely going to shoot for that. I want my team as a leader to not think about, if we lose and we can have this extra bye week and all these non-competitive thoughts. So, I'm definitely going for it. And honestly, if you lose the SEC, we've seen in the past in the 4 playoff team structure where in a way, you kind of got penalized for making it to the SEC championship and losing. But I think in this 12-team playoff, you should still be able to get in, because most likely that SEC champion, and I think you said it, Trey, earlier in the segment. The SEC champion is going to be a top 4 seed, most likely.
Oh, no, most definitely. Most definitely. They're going to give it to an SEC champ. It's not the whole, oh, I don't want to play an SEC championship because there's a chance I might lose. It's more so, man, my guys are banged up from this brutal schedule we had, man. If we can miss the SEC championship game and already have our bid 4th, 5th, 6th seed, I'll take that. I think that's more what Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss head coach, was alluding to. And I know a lot of other coaches feel the same way, but, you know, Lane Kiffin's the one who don't give a F. He gonna be the one to stand in front of the media and talk about that type of stuff. You won't see DeBoer, Kirby Smart, Brian Kelly talking about that. But Brian Kelly, not even him, he's out.
But, you know, Ole Miss sitting right now at number. Do you really want to play that game? Maybe you get bumped out. You know what I'm saying? It's no guarantee.
Ole Miss definitely will be out. Texas A&M definitely. It's gonna come down to resume for sure.
So I mean, if you want to play that game and say, oh, I want to have time for my guys to get rested, but you know, there's no guarantee that you're going to get in because, like you said, Texas A&M's, they're pretty hot. Colorado's hot. Clemson's been on a little bit of a streak. SMU, you know what I'm saying? SMU's been playing very well, so you could very well, your behind could be watching the playoffs if you start trying to get cute with how you strategize and whatnot.
They won't do that to an SEC team. Now, if it's a Big Ten team being on them games, like we mentioned with IU, they likely won't make it to the Big Ten championship game. And they'll be 10-1 by year's end, which is a prediction. And you never know. They look at the Big Ten differently than they look at SEC, and those are easily the 2 most dominant conferences in college football.
I mean, if you look now, 4 of the top 5 seeds are Big Ten schools. So I don't necessarily, especially with the mergers and the former Pac-12.
Who's that 4th one?
That's Penn State.
Would you really give Penn State a shot in the playoff, if you're being honest?
Hey, it's the playoffs, man.
Yeah, it's the playoffs, but at the same time, though, talent speaks volumes. And I think Penn
They're
State,
number 4.
Huh?
They're number 4.
Who they beating?
Hey, they're number 4.
Who they beating? I told you about this. The college committee could care less about the record. They like the resume.
They number 4?
Hey, pull up that tweet I showed you the other day. IU being undefeated, and then you got fans getting a little crazy. Like, I respect fans like you who you're just taking the moment in, because you know you won't be hoisting that beautiful trophy in January. We know that. But you make the playoffs in the first inaugural 12-team year. That's huge. That's huge for IU. That's huge for their brand. That's huge for recruiting. You know, your 4-star, 5-star player is going to see that. My man Signetti, he's got a whole roster of guys that he didn't recruit. He's not tied to them. He sell me some early playing time. Then I'm going to come over there and play, and then he got a 5-star talent there. That type of stuff is huge. But I said IU being undefeated, talking about they'll play Bama at home in the first round of playoffs is like winning every bar fight. You think you're the man, now you want to invite the Olympic boxer to your crib to spar. I'm like, let's take it easy now.
It's cool to say that because you know that Georgia's might not even make the playoffs, you know, sitting with 2 losses already on their.
Well, hold on for a second. I know
you know, that's
I think you're being cute when you say that, but just in case you're
not, we're 10-0 and you're 8.
What makes Georgia? What will be that will get Georgia eliminated? Because they're definitely losing their last 2 games. What would it be?
You don't know that. You didn't think that they were going to lose their first 2 games.
But I know for a fact that they'll make it to the playoffs with 2 losses.
You don't know for a fact.
I do. They beat the number 1 team on the road.
You said, hold on. You said that you know for a fact that they'll get in, but I'm saying there's no guarantee that they're going to they're not going to lose.
They can win out.
You can
SEC championship game.
How Carson Beck can throw him out the game. He hasn't played consistently, so maybe you feel that pressure, and that's why you coming at an undefeated IU team, so who probably only have 1 loss, and we actually have a higher percentage of making the playoffs than even Ohio State does as of last week. I know you're high on the SEC. You live in Florida now, but like I said, 4 of the top 5 teams are Big Ten schools. So clearly the committee respects the Big Ten, and Big Ten's always been, technically number 2 behind the SEC. But with this Power 4 now, I think that's only added more strength, and clearly the committee respects that. Like I said, 4 out of the top 5 are Big Ten.
IU will have an opportunity this weekend to do what Georgia's already done. That's going to somebody's trap, take over their trap, beat a top 5 team at home, hostile environment. You know what I'm saying? Our 2 losses were in hostile environments on the road at SEC. You look at the brand, you think, oh, Georgia could beat those guys. The SEC, it just means more. Ohio State, they're a tough team. Ole Miss, tough team. Bama, tough team. Texas, tough team.
As we've always said, SEC, even before the merger, very top heavy. I've always thought the SEC has always been overrated. I mean, yeah, it's definitely one of the top, but the Big Ten is definitely just as good. We got just as much power as the SEC does. I just think that you're adding too much weight to the SEC.
There's not a single team in the Big Ten that scares me outside of Oregon and Ohio State. And I actually think Oregon's beatable too. I think Oregon had the benefit of playing Ohio State at home and had
beatable. So this
year, lost to Maryland. They had a close game with Maryland.
Alabama more beatable than ever?
Hold on for a second. Who did Oregon play last weekend where they nearly slipped up? I don't think it was Maryland. That was the week before. I'll look into it later. Yeah, you can pop a graphic up when you edit this. But what were you saying about Alabama?
I'm just saying you said beatable. Well, all these teams are pretty beatable.
Yeah, it just depends on what day they show up.
A lot of these SEC teams do have multiple.
You might have a Jalen Milroe who wants to come in and run for 200 yards, or you might have a Jalen Milroe who might want to come and throw the ball, and that might not work out well for him. You know what I'm saying? It depends on what the game plan is. If I had to purchase a ticket to pick a national championship winner, I feel most comfortable going with Alabama at this very point in time because I think they're the overall most talented team in the SEC at this time, which is why I would rather them go to the SEC championship game, get beat by Texas, so we ain't got to worry about them in the playoff. That's the one team I really don't care to see in the playoff. They always beat Georgia. Pisses me off.
Oregon's close loss, was to Wisconsin, you know.
Yeah, Wisconsin. That's what it was. Okay. Like, I think these teams are beatable, but like I mentioned before, man, IU's got a huge opportunity to show the nation who they really are. And after this, regardless of the outcome, they play IU ball. They ain't going to have nothing to say to them. And I would like to see IU in the playoff. I like to see IU go to Athens, Georgia.
Well, hey, it may happen. So
it possibly could. I think
that would be a fun matchup, IU versus Georgia. So hey, we'll see, man. Maybe
I bet you won't even go. I bet you wouldn't even go if IU qualified. You wouldn't even go support your team. They right down the street.
Yeah, would you? I'll support them on TV.
Yeah, I bet you would.
If somebody support me with a couple $100 for tickets, then yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
I think that was
good.
He
couldn't even tell you 2 Big Ten schools, man. This guy's
I could. Penn State, IU, man. Maryland.
Bro, I lived in both. I lived in one college town. I lived not too far from the other.
I mean, good Maryland, job, bro. I mean, that's like Wisconsin, Minnesota. That's simple, bro. I know the conferences. I don't know every team in every conference.
But definitely, if you guys made it this far in the video, we deeply appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. More videos coming in the future. Also, keep a lookout. We got the series coming, college football and the recruiting, kind of getting back into those videos. So be on the lookout for the positional rankings we got coming towards the end of the college football season. But yeah, like I said, Ross, Big Will, appreciate you guys stopping by. Without further ado, we'll see you on the next video.
Comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Peace.
See ya.